Okay, so I thought I'd just do a little video of how to make this, which is a whistle made out of willow, this wood here. So I'll give you a quick demo. There we go. So I'd actually kind of got started on this as I made one of these, which is basically drilling out a much larger piece of wood, and involves sort of tools and considerably more accuracy. And I guess it's also less spontaneous. I didn't actually do this out in the woods or anything like this. So I think there's something rather nice about these, as you can honestly make one with only a knife. So the first thing to say is that Willow's kind of interesting, that you need it in this green state, and I'm recording this just in March, and so this stuff is nice and green and fleshy. And excuse me, the trick is basically all down to the fact that essentially this ring of essentially outer bark pops off. If you roll it, it pops away from the main wood. And so that is like the whole reason you're able to make this, is because actually in here it's slightly hollow. And the process I'm going to show you is how to do that. And I'm going to shoot it real time, so forgive the lack of editing, but I kind of feel I'm someone who always gets a bit frustrated if someone goes, oh, here's one I made earlier, and actually it's missing, dare I say it, the critical bit that helps you do it if you've never done anything like this. So obviously you don't have to use this particular brand, any sharp knife will do. But I think what does matter is, although you can see a bend here, we kind of want something which is straight. The grids in fact help here. So as you can see, this is a pretty straight little section. And this would be about 8 centimeters long. So what I'm going to do is essentially leave about, let's see what that is, 2 centimeters from the back. And I'm going to cut into it like this. And I'm going to roll it as I do that. And I'm taking a bit of care now, just as I'm coming round, I'm looking underneath to see whether my knife will key up with the little mark that I scribed in on that side. Okay, so I'm going round like that, and that's basically just setting up the lower part of it. And then the upper part, so just to give you an impression, that's actually the bottom. If I was to take this, what I would do is also come at it round here. And this is just scoring it. I'm keeping my fingers well back because I'm applying a bit of pressure. Now, if you wanted, you could just work all the way around if you only have a knife. And eventually it does come to the point where you can just basically twist it and snap it off. But as this thing actually comes with a saw, I'm going to avail of that and use that instead. And obviously you can rest this on a tree stump or under your foot or whatever to make it a little bit easier. And as you can see, I'm actually rotating the stick as it goes round. So it doesn't matter that it's a little bit raggedy, because right now we can just tidy up that end. Oop, wrong blade. So there we go. And again, I'm just applying a bit of force to tidy it up. So there we go, neatened up a little bit better there. So the interesting bit is, first of all, we just need to make a little notch in the top, and I'm doing that. Let's look at that, say 1.5 centimeters, pressing down and rocking the blade into it. And then I'm coming in towards it just gently. And repeat that, like that. So to look at it from the side, you've got a very small little notch like that. Okay. And then what's interesting is that our score that we made down there, if you're unsure about it, just give it another little roll to make sure you've definitely cut through this bit. And then what's interesting is quite a few things recommend, when I've seen this done, they recommend just tapping it. Which I think works fine. And you see what's basically happening. Can you see it just happening there already? This is starting to come away. And I think the trick with this as well is, even if you don't do this, try also rolling it as well. I think that also seems to work pretty successfully. And so as you can see, I'm not applying massive pressure. It's just enough to get it going. And what you start to notice is that this is coming free. See how that's doing. Then you start giving it a little twist. I realize a slight error of my efforts here. I should have left this part attached. I can feel it slightly starting to loosen. Hey, there we go. So, you had that little crack and a slight split there, which doesn't really matter because we're not going to be anywhere near that. And off it comes. So again, much easier if you leave this on and then saw it off later, but hindsight is a wonderful thing. And anyway, so what we can see is we've got this little notch here that we made, which corresponds with that. And so then we go back in using the normal blade. Then we go back in and make a mark down there. And we begin cutting. And so we go down. And this is where, if you're unfamiliar with any whittling techniques, it's good to use your thumb as the power, if you like, to this, rather than trying to, should we say, I'm not trying to do that. I'm just guiding it. And if you're really not that confident, maybe try something like that. But of course, the risk is that you slip and then take all of this material off. So I would recommend trying to cut with using the pressure from your thumb. Okay. So then keep going. So this is pretty well established, so I can afford to just cut into it a bit more aggressively now. as you can see, that's how it's going. Then work the blade back across again. Probably evidently clear. I could do with a bit of a sharpen on the blade, but there you go. Okay. There we go. A little bit more care on that piece there. And as you can see, starting to build up that profile. Just continue. Basically, the deeper you make this, I think the better it sounds for something of this size. There we go. So you can see it's getting into this pithy stuff. I kind of personally feel it's nice just to go a little bit past that. I could be totally wrong, but it just feels a bit nicer to do that. There we go. And resisting the urge to just tear it. There we go. Alrighty. So we have that. And then the next trick, I'm going to exaggerate this with the knife, but the next trick, if you imagine that straight, I'm wanting to cut it at a slight angle. So hope you can see there. Use my thumb for my finger for a bit of contrast. You can see there's a definite angle, so it's like that. Okay, so we now put this back on with those things aligned, and it is kind of satisfying how it just goes back together, and you can see in there we've got a shape like that. So let's give it a go. So it's kind of helpful to show something going wrong, as how many YouTube videos always make a point of it always looking perfect. So I can tell what's happened is that basically when I look down here, there's a good gap here, but it actually needs a little bit more space at the top. So I don't know whether you can see that. There's almost no room for the air to get out. So what's great, no big deal. Take it apart and then just chop that off a tiny little bit. And again, trying to keep it as smooth as possible. Definitely needing to sharpen this blade, but I guess it's nice to some proof that I do actually practice what I preach, and I'm capable of going out there and dulling a blade in a weekend. So back on with this. There we are. Let's try again. So as you can see, there's a bit of a gap now. Okay, so what is probably missing now is that this is too shallow. So we can basically, what I'd recommend is you want a little bit of meat to cut against. So I've rotated this round, as you can see, so it's basically 180 degrees. So we've got a bit of space, and then come back in and then just carefully cut this a little more. So this is actually really funny because the first time I did it, it worked first time, and now that I'm recording it, it isn't. And so what's great is I actually think this is like the best of design process, is you learn whether you got it right through fluke or whether you truly understand the principles. So I think what's happening is the air needs to rush up and hit that groove better. So let's try now. Back it off a bit. So I think when I look at it, it still, in all honesty, looks a little ragged. So I'm going to cut it again against that. Let's try now. Oh, and there we have it. Okay. So that just goes to show that the key thing is that if I had taken too much off at the beginning, I wouldn't be able to put any twig back on. So this is kind of, you know, the best way to do it is gingerly trim off bits until it works. And so as you can see, it's quite a satisfying note, that. And then I guess if you wanted to just put yourself a little groove for the lip, taking care not to sort of crush this, because you've obviously got a hollow bit there, just coming in and taking a little bit off here as well. Let's just square that up a little. There we go. So I'm no Ray Mears, but there you go. Nice little whistle. And I'd imagine if I got to putting little holes in, it would work even better. But yeah, so there we go. This is like a good few days old, and as you can see, it dries out a little bit. The only other tip I know is that the saying "wet your whistle" comes from actually keeping these a little bit moist. So if this gets too dry and basically shrinks and stop working, dip it in a little bit of water. Or I think what has happened by total fluke is that I seem to have made a little concave form here, which means that even though this is tensioned over and closed, it would have closed if this was perfectly flat. I think by fluke, the fact that I've kept it so that it keeps a gap is why it's still working. So dare I say it, if you have the knife skills to actually nail that first time, that appears to be the chance encounter that leads to the perfect whistle even when dry. But this one, dare I say, actually looks in the opposite direction. The curve is a little bit more that direction, whereas the other one is very much like that. So anyway, hope that's a bit of fun. Definitely season for Willow, and give them another go. Quite impressed with that. All right, thanks a lot. Random what I'm up to. Please leave any comments. Thanks again.